You're crazy. I'm crazy. A large percentage of the West Virginia fan base is absolutely crazy. We're off our rocker, according to Tony Caridi. That's right. West Virginia's own Tony Caridi calling out his own supporters, his own fans. Very large percentage of them on his last show. We're going to talk about that, and I'm going to explain why what Tony said was out of line. And we're going to do that in this episode of Hoops from the Hills, brought to you by our friends over at Appalachia Digital. And we're going to have the conversation. I'm going to explain everything right after this word from that sponsor. Hey, do me a favor. Go check out my good friends over at Appalachia Digital. If you need a brand new website for your small business, or if you're just looking to get found easier on Google, go check out AppalachiaDigital.com/Couz. These are the fine folks who designed my brand new website over at WVSportsChat.com. They did a fantastic job. I love their work. I think you will too. So go check them out. AppalachiaDigital.com/Couz. Let them know Couz sent you. I also want to thank them for supporting my work here at Couz's Corner and at Hoops from the Hills. Now let's get back to the show. What is up, and welcome into this episode of Hoops from the Hills. Thank you for tuning into the show. On tap today, we're talking about comments made by Tony Caridi, basically insulting many in the West Virginia fan base. And look, he didn't mince words, and said he didn't care if he pissed people off, so he knew what he was saying. But he basically called us crazy, even went as far as to say some of us are dumbasses. Okay? Because some people are buying into the quote conspiracy that Darian DeVries may have known he was going to Indiana weeks ago. I'm here to tell you, I think Tony's barking up the wrong tree, because if you look at the timeline, which we'll get to in a minute, it's out of line to call us crazy, because it's feasible that it's real. Now, first off, before we even get any further, I don't think Tucker DeVries faked his injury. Okay. I think he was legitimately hurt. Tucker DeVries has had shoulder issues in the past. It's not uncommon. So I do think he was injured, but I'm not going to sit here and tell you with 100% certainty that it didn't or couldn't have played a role in the decision to shut it down and take a medical redshirt. That could, knowing his dad was going to Indiana, or thinking it could go to Indiana, could have been a factor in that decision. And to not see that, to me, is naive. It doesn't make us crazy. It means we're looking at a situation and using common sense and logic and saying, this looks suspicious. It doesn't make me a dumbass, and it doesn't make me crazy, despite what Tony Caridi might think. And I'm going to play a clip from what Tony said here in just a minute. And then I'm going to leave a link, out of fairness to them, I am going to leave a link to their entire show in the description box so you can go watch it. I'm going to keep supporting their show. I like their show. It's entertaining. It's informative. And I love Tony on play-by-play, and I even like the Three Guys show. And I'm not going to sit here and attack Tony's character as a person, but I think in this instance, he was out of line, and he crossed the line by calling a majority of his supporters, or at least a large percentage of them, dumbasses. Not a very good business move, Tony, in my opinion. But again, he said he didn't care. So there it is. And another criticism of Tony, before we get to the clip, Tony and Brad and Three Guys, they have not said one negative comment about the way Darian DeVries left this program. He allegedly didn't say goodbye to his players via text message or face-to-face. He didn't put out a goodbye message to West Virginia University, thanking the fans or thanking the administration, anything. He didn't give Rim Baker a chance to match Indiana's offer. He left, lickety-split, was gone, probably glad they didn't make the NCAA tournament, to be perfectly honest with you, because the announcement he put out about that was weak sauce, absolute weak sauce. I don't think he cared, if you want my honest opinion. But anyway, he doesn't work for West Virginia anymore. Why can you not say what he did was wrong? You did it when Dawn Plitzowite left in the same fashion. You criticized her, but you can't criticize Darian DeVries. Why? Why can't you criticize? I'm not asking you to buy into the conspiracies or whatever you think they are, but you can at least criticize him. There's nothing wrong with criticism, man. It's a podcast. You can criticize somebody on a pod. You don't have to go after them personally, but you can criticize. He's a grown man making $4-5 million a year. He's not above being criticized. Let me get to the clip, and then I'll comment on the clip, and I'll show you why the timeline of what happened to me means that Tony's barking up the wrong tree here, and why it's actually not out of the ordinary or out of the realm of possibility to think there's something was going on here. And again, we'll get to that after I play the clip.
Which leads me to these conspiracy theories and how people, I mean, if I saw the one text from the guy who posted like on March 12th that it was a done deal, and then all this stuff that this deal was cut at the Bahamas, and that they were going to shut Tucker down after 8 games so that he could go with it. I mean, because we don't use expletives, I won't say it, but are you freaking kidding me? Are you freaking kidding me? Now, that might make you feel better, but it's absolutely insane. It's absolutely ridiculous. It's absolutely untrue, which led me to a whole nother thing. Now, this will really get you pissed off, but I don't care. I've really never met a smart conspiracy theorist. Like, after you get done talking to someone that's got a conspiracy theorist, I've never walked away from that conversation. I'll tell you what, that's a pretty smart person. Most of the time, that's a dumbass. My opinion. I've never read a real smart one. So while that might make you feel better, like I'll take you and I'll take the field that was absolutely not the case. Now, that'll lead us to Darren's comment yesterday when he took the job that Indiana was respectful toward him. And everyone's running to that and say, see right there, that's a done deal. Again, how this works is this. Did Indiana watch him coach in the Bahamas? Yeah. Did they go like, whoa, that guy's impressive? Very similar to when we watched John Beilein coach at Richmond and we went like, whoa, that guy's impressive. So do they reach out and say, hey, if we have an opening, we'd just like to let you know that we'd like to talk to him. Agent goes, okay. Does he say, and this is how it works, hey, just letting you know, Indiana said they may have an interest if their job opens. That's where it is.
All right. Now, I agree with some of what Tony said there, okay? I agree that Indiana probably got the idea in their head around the Bahamas tournament to reach out to Darian DeVries, right? And then on December the 6th, after the Georgetown game, which is the one game following the Bahamas tournament, Tucker DeVries, that's when he played his last game. He balled out for West Virginia, played his last game, decided to shut it down at least temporarily anyway, because his shoulder was bothering him, which again, I believe was legitimate, okay, because of his past history. And I do believe that it's very possible he had intentions of coming back at some point if the shoulder got better. But then if you fast forward to about 2 months to February, on February the 4th, West Virginia made the announcement that Tucker was shutting it down for the season and they will apply for a medical redshirt. Okay. 3 days later, Mike Woodson announces that he was stepping down as coach of Indiana 3 days after West Virginia made the announcement about Tucker. So do you think it's possible that once they realized that Darren had a shot at the Indiana job and maybe a top candidate, that maybe then Tucker went, wait a minute, I could wait and just go to Indiana with my dad if I don't play again this year? That's possible. Again, I'm not saying he did that, but why is it so far out of the realm of possibility to think that it could have happened that way, Tony? It doesn't mean you're a dumbass or it doesn't mean you're crazy to look at that and go, that's odd. Especially when you consider the fact that Darian DeVries, West Virginia was left out of the NCAA tournament on Sunday. By Wednesday, Darian DeVries was in Indiana at his press conference, making comments, by the way, that basically admitted that they had already been talking. And then the tweet that Tony was referring to, I'm going to show that to you. He called it a text, I think, but it was actually a tweet put up by an anonymous account called IUAnon on March 12th. It said, There has been a verbal agreement with Coach for almost a month. This was on March 12th. Darian DeVries, it wasn't announced that he was the Indiana coach till March 18th. He says there has been a verbal agreement with Coach for almost a month. The contract was drafted and is going to be signed as soon as the coach's season is over. He then goes on and makes a second tweet that says, I'm not afraid to say who it is. It's Darren. Now, it's possible this is just somebody who was making a complete guess and had no clue what he was even talking about. That's possible. But why does it, Trilly Donovan, who's respected in the industry and who's predicted a lot of coaching changes, he's an anonymous account. You realize people in the know often make anonymous accounts so that they can put out information that they're not supposed to be putting out without getting in trouble. You do realize that, right? That's one of the reasons for them. Maybe that's the case here. Maybe it's not. But it's not beyond the realm of possibility to think it might be true. Some of these people in media seem to think that unless you are a credentialed media member who is a quote-unquote professional journalist or professional broadcaster, that you can't talk to people, that you can't have connections, that you can't break news. I got news for you. That's not true. All it takes is for you to, A, know the right person, B, have the wherewithal to reach out to people and build connections just like journalists do. Some people you can do that in this age of social media without being a credentialed, professional, whatever journalist or broadcaster. So it's very possible. And again, this timeline, it's hard to look at this timeline and go, that's crazy. It ain't crazy to think that maybe there was something going on as far back as 3 to 4 weeks ago. Why is it crazy to think that? It's not, in my opinion. And I think Tony Caridi was way out of line to make that comment. He insulted on most of a large percentage of his listeners by making that comment. I'm not a full-fledged conspiracy theorist, but I also don't think all the conspiracy theories are all that crazy to think could possibly be true. I don't believe the Earth's flat. I do believe man landed on the moon. But I'm not going to go to somebody who doesn't believe me and call them a dumbass. They just think differently than me. They see the world differently than I do. So I take exception to what Tony Caridi had to say in the way he addressed us, Mountaineer Nation. It was disrespectful and wrong. Especially when you look at a timeline and all it takes is some logic and common sense to look at that and go, there could be something to it. Especially considering Darian DeVries didn't even put out an announcement, a thank you, a goodbye, didn't talk to his players allegedly. That makes you think something shady may have been going on there. So anyway, I want to know what you think. Do you think it's just a conspiracy theory that that Darren knew he was going to Indiana before the season was over? Do you think it's a conspiracy theory and crazy? Or do you think it's not and that you actually think he was making deals behind the scenes before it all went down at the end of the year? Let me know what you think. Leave a comment below. Also, please don't forget to hit the thumbs up button if you thought this was a good video. I would really appreciate it. Please subscribe to the channel. Help me get to my next goal of 3,000 subscribers. I want to thank my sponsor, Appalachia Digital. They are the ones who built my brand new website. Thank you for supporting the show. You may want to check this one right here out in the corner of your screen. YouTube thinks you'll like it. Hope the rest of your day's top shelf and Q Country Roads.